Mark 2, 23 through chapter 3, verse 6. Buckle up, it's a little long. One Sabbath, he was going through the grain fields. As they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing that? It's not lawful on the Sabbath." And Jesus said to him, "You have never read that what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in the need of food, and how he entered the house of God, when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but priests to eat, and he gave some to his companions." I want to say I just brushed my teeth and I can't do a thing with them. Then he said to them, "The Sabbath was made for humankind, and not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath." Again he entered the synagogue, and a man was there who had a withered hand. They were watching him to see whether he would cure him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Come forward." And then he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good, or to do harm on the Sabbath? To save life or to kill?" And they were silent. He looked around at them with anger, and he was grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately conspired with the Herodians against him on how to destroy him. Wow. So the Pharisees were not fair, you see. A good way to remember who the Pharisees were when you're taking a quiz in Bible school. The Pharisees followed Jesus around a lot, and they questioned him a lot because it was unheard of to think that their God had sent somebody down here to be a man. It makes sense to us now. We've read the book. We know the ending. But at the time, it was a little perplexing. And how could this man have that claim? One of the things that, interestingly enough, that the Pharisees got on Jesus about, they gathered around him one day and they were saying, tell us, what is the most important commandment?" Because they knew what was written on the tablets. They had it memorized. And you'll get my version from a children's sermon that I did quite a few times in quite a lot of churches around here. So if you missed it when you were young, this is God's Big Ten, the 10 Commandments. Love God more than love anything else. Don't make anything in your life more important than God. Always say God's name with love and respect. Honor the Lord by resting on the 7th day of the week. It's the 4th commandment we're talking about today. Love and respect your mom and dad. Never hurt anyone. Always be faithful to your husband or wife. Don't take anything that isn't yours. Always tell the truth and be happy with what you have. Do not wish for other people's things. So what did Jesus say out of that 10? Anybody remember? Next visual aid. Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself." If you think about it, it's the umbrella that goes over all of those. You're not going to want to steal somebody's wife if you're acting and living in love. You're not going to want to steal somebody's stuff if you're acting and living in love. Jesus answered their question with an answer that wasn't even on the list, but it makes sense if you think about it. So his call to us was to love others and love him. You guys are good at that. There's no doubt about it. So what are the 4 qualities of God's love? And you'll be happy to note this is today's sermon. It's not 11 pages. Let's see how long I can stretch it out. God's love is unique, universal, unmerited, and personal. 4 qualities that outline what God's love is: unique, universal, unmerited, and personal. Now, in sermon school, you might remember this, they said 6 times sticks, but I'm not going to say it 6 times in a row for you. But God's love is unique, universal, unmerited, and personal. It's unrelenting, and it requires our faith to receive it, but it's always there, just like that Amazon package on the front steps waiting for you. It's always there. It's unrelenting and unending. It's deep and enduring. God loves you with a deep and enduring personal love, right where you're at. You don't have to clean up or anything for him, just as you are. We are God's beloved children. We're joint heirs with Christ. That makes us one of God's kids, because he is. Jesus is one of God's kids. We receive an inheritance from God just like Jesus did. Through action and prayer, and sometimes a lot of perseverance, we can align ourselves with that peace and that love and all those good gifts that come from God to us. There's a Bible verse, I'll quote it from the Amplified Bible. It says, "The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much." It is dynamos, is the Greek word, but it's dynamic in its acting. The effectual, fervent prayer is dynamos. The word we get dynamite from. The effectual, fervent prayer of us is like dynamite. It can change things. So your prayers for those around you and for yourself can make a huge difference. And sometimes I feel as if God's just waiting to be invited into the situation. Just like we just now invited him into Mike and to Steve's situation that they're in. He's waiting to be invited. He's a gentleman. The other thing to remember, and not exactly my parting words with you, but something to keep in mind as you encounter each other and people in the world. At any given moment, everybody's doing the best they can. And if they let you down, or cause offense, or all these things that we've talked about the last few weeks that can hinder your inner peace or disrupt your life, remember they're doing the best they can, and the best you can is to pray for them. Thus endeth the sermon.